And we're back sometime since we saw each other again. I think I've had plans and things to do, and I think the same has been for Robin lately. There's two types of people when you get closer to vacation. People who get less things to do the closer they get to vacation, and you have the people who get more things to do. Which type of person would you be, Michael?
Well, I don't know, but first of all, it's nice to see you again. Good that you were back in business. And regarding two types of people, I don't know. There are like two kind of people. The first kind will tell you how they just did it, and the second kind of people will tell you why they couldn't do it. So I guess you can divide it like that too if you want.
Okay. I think today we're gonna keep it quite general. We're gonna have a part of like a Q&A, and I want to thank the people that have asked questions. I know that we're gonna have some question, and it's gonna be, we haven't even looked at the questions. That should be quite transparent. We're gonna take them as they come today.
That is, a double-blind experiment. If even the interviewer doesn't know the questions, nor the people person being interviewed, so that's really talk about being off the script. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like a double-blinded study, but it's more of an interview, right?
Exactly.
Shall we start with the first one? So the first question is: hur har bolaget resonerat kring antalet patienter i totemstudien och vilka slutsatser bedömer ni att man realistiskt kan dra från en studie av denna storlek?
So this question goes towards the number of patients that we've included in the study in totems, and what's the relevance of the conclusions that we can make, given that we get the results from all of them.
I guess it's like statistical, like what's the probability and conclusions they can draw from.
So regarding the statistics, I'm not very good at statistics in general. They are discussed, I believe, in the paper that is on our website regarding the study, published November last year, so you can take a look there. The number of patients is always too small. A real study where you will do founded, statistically very, very sound, needs much more patients, of course. But then the study will take between 4 to 5 years and will cost about 5-10 times as much as we have now. So what the study can do, the conclusions that was part of the question, what conclusions can you actually get? I think we will be able to conclude, if all goes well, what potential Gabather GT002 can have affecting the EEG pattern and the initial results in the cognitive tests. So what I really hope to see, is a tip of the iceberg. We aren't able to climb the iceberg and to get it out of the water even in this kind of study with the number of patients in control. Remember that it is in particular the inclusion of patients that is always the biggest hurdle and the challenge in any clinical trial. And, statistically, I learned at one of the meetings I attended quite a while ago now that, the number of clinical trials that are unable to fulfill the recruitment that they planned in clinical trials, in Europe at least, is 80%. So that's where the big issue really is, to get the enough number of patients included. Our goal is 25, and I'd be more than happy if we actually reach that number, and it won't be lower. Remember, regarding number of patients, that even in the clinic, that was of course during COVID, but we know we had a similar number in our last clinical trials with the EEG fMRI, and then we actually only got 17 after all,
Yeah. So, would you say that that would be something a partner would be, they are more interested in the conclusion if you would have 25 or 20 people? I guess the real problem starts to come if you only have 5 people, right?
But it is a partner that can see the potential there and not the final result. So they said, okay, with this pattern or with this number of patients, at least we believe that there could be something interesting to continue on, to build on. So it would be then, a partner that this could be, from a partner perspective, this could be then, like a pre-study, like a pilot study. I said, okay, these guys have shown this and that effect. Interesting for us. We go into it. That would be the way I think of an inclusion into a partner or in a potential collaboration. I'm not the partner. I'm just trying to think myself into what I would think.
But if you would have a money bag of what would you say is reasonable for phase 2 otherwise? Would it be like 100 million SEK?
Yeah.
Let's say if you would have 100 million SEK, how many would you?
Yeah. No, I've done the calculation. I ended with about 120 million SEK.
Okay.
And about, 50 to 70 patients. But then the problem there was then the study duration gets so long, We were talking about as I said, 4 to 5 years, and we don't really have that, so.
But then if you would have a partner then, because this is like seeding and, showing, that it's worth going for a phase B.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just with constraints to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or it could also be, that already now somebody approaches you and said, okay, if you guys show something interesting, then we want to have first right of refusal, first right of, that they can be on there from the very beginning. It's just a question of people having the right gap in their pipeline, or a project that is very similar that they didn't succeed, or they want to put some more effort on that particular indication. So that
I
is,
think
I
last
think,
time we also spoke about, in the US that they want to start fast tracking CNS and mental disorders. So if you earlier could show something that this has some potential, the faster you could get this fast track maybe as well.
Exactly. I mean, the key thing is, the first, of course, extremely important information is already, and that you get quite quickly with the very first number of patients, is, are there any side effects? Are there any issues with medication that these people are already on? So that's good. And number two is also, you remember that we also have controls. They're of course not so difficult to recruit, right? But the controls, they will be also nice, the data from them, because they have to confirm what we already seen before. So it's a little bit, building the case in a way,
Yeah.
Rather than saying, okay, boom, after 2 years, we have this and this result. It's a fantastic project. Just buy it here and sign at the dotted line. It won't be like that. No.
Yeah. Next question then. We'll try it in Swedish and we'll translate again. So. Finns det på förhand definierade kriterier eller tröskelvärde som avgör om studien ska betraktas som framgångsrik? Är målsättningen att etablera kliniskt proof of concept eller främst att generera ytterligare kunskap inför framtida studier?
Well, I think, so the question here is, do we have predefined endpoints and dates in order to see the study is successful? Or is the study more in the direction of generating more data in order to prove the clinical efficacy? And I think the answer to that, if I understood it correctly, the answer to that is very straightforward. This is the second bit. What we're trying to do is to generate more data towards the clinical data. It will be very difficult, to if you're looking at the EEG patterns, we do not have a defined, change in frequency or the defined activation limit where we say, okay, this is significant, this is not significant. What we want to see is a trend in a direction and tolerability of this drug in the first place in this study. So the study is, as we have said, this is an experimental phase 2A study, I think.
Yeah. What was I thinking? I was thinking that isn't this study also in one way pushing, what this receptor would be able to do in the future, right? In one way. So you're not only, looking at this particular molecule, but you're also looking into new areas where this,
Exactly, Markus. That is actually an excellent point. So what we actually want, exactly. So we want to see, okay, remember that in the study, there's always a comparator, which is a used benzodiazepine. So what we actually do, exactly what you say, we want to show what the activation or the interaction with this receptor with our experimental medicine can do as compared to what is already on the market now. So in that sense, you are exactly doing that, expanding what this receptor interaction can do or induce. So that's right. Absolutely.
And theoretically then you could compare, the two different, maybe you're not proving, how the real effect of it, but you could still compare, something that, the benzos that we're comparing with to what we have right now. So
absolutely.
That's in one way showing effect, but we can't really, do these long forms and, do this very long studies, right? We would do otherwise.
Exactly. But I mean, the differentiation towards a current medicine like benzodiazepines that work on the same receptor is already a big step forward. Because then you have proven that they have an experimental medicine that interacts with the same receptor as the benzodiazepines, but in a different way, and that would be the first step to also having a different effect. In our case, for example, a lack of a side effect with sedations, which is a big issue with all benzodiazepines, that act on the same receptor. So already there you are, widening the differentiation to what's already there. Because remember that what has the question that I've always got, I'm sure I've I've mentioned this before, that the question that I always get, first one, anybody I meet, oh yeah, okay, so you work on the GABA receptor, interesting. There are dozens of benzodiazepines around. What is new with you guys? Do we need benzodiazepine number 26 or 27? And my answer is no. This is a drug that is different to benzodiazepines. And the first proof we have from the clinical trial is, for example, it's totally non-sedative. And the fMRI and EEG data that we have shown in the healthy volunteers is different, because there we also had a benzodiazepine comparator. So what we hope now is, of course, to be able to transport this into the data from patients. That would be already really, really great.
I thought that you would have a shorter answer to that this is not the benzo.
I never have short answers for you, Markus.
Okay. Yeah, because shall we take question number 3 then? Har den första patienten påbörjat behandling i totemstudien? Om inte, när förväntar ni er att studien ska starta?
Well, the study is, so the question was here, when do you expect the study to start? And in particular, when do you expect the first patient to come into the study? And that's kind of difficult to answer, because it's work in progress. The study has started. The first controls are already running and have been inside the process. So the question right now is to get the patients included in the same study, in the same site. And that, I think, will turn out to be more tricky than when I anticipated. You need not only the okay from the patient, you also need the okay from the caregivers in general. So it's a bigger issue. But as soon as we have the first patient in, we have a GIST meeting for sure and a press release.
I think once the first one comes, there's like a window, is it 12 weeks or something, for the first one to do all the flushes and all the 3,
That's right.
the comparator, the placebo and GT002.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's that is that's the good side and the bad side of the study. The good side is that the data is, in my opinion, as good as you can make it with this number of patients. But the flip side is, of course, you need somebody to come in 3 times, 4 times, if you include the first visit, in a row with 2 weeks spacing in between, to wash out the drug in order to be able to compare. And, this is not a contract, you also depend on the goodwill of the people that actually want to participate.
Yeah.
And nobody can say, if somebody says for the first time, said, oh, I didn't like the study, then they stop. That's
and it's schizophrenic people as well, right? So the first person could say yes, but then the second person could say no the other time, maybe. I don't know.
Absolutely. And, there can be people receive informed consent. They have to agree, and they get all the information that's necessary. Do you want to participate in this trial? And it's up to everybody, not the controls, because they are of course volunteers, but the patients. Yeah, I want to participate, or I do not want to participate. I don't know. I'm okay with my current medication, or I'm not interested in participating in this. There are lots of very personal reasons, which are very difficult to anticipate.
Do you think that it would be easy to go through the whole control group and find some findings from that? Or do you think that we would need to have the first patient plus the control group being done before making any preliminary data?
No, I think it will be, in that sense, it will be, as straightforward as possible. If somebody from a control group wants to go in, then take him in immediately and start the process. There's no reason to wait for, say, control patient. In that sense, they're independent, because they're all literally individual. You can consider the control as much as a test person as a patient, So, no.
But could there be interesting preliminary data that could be shared from that group ahead of time of the patients?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's, yes, as I said, what we want to, of course, see from the controls that is consistent with what we have seen before. In the EEG, already that is it's already a big step forward,
Yeah. So because maybe we have a couple of different triggers in the study.
Exactly. EEG studies, they are not notoriously idiosyncratic. You have to compare between site and site. So one previous study was done in Portugal. This study, EEG study, is done in Denmark. Completely different team here, completely different team there, and it would be absolutely great, and it will be great if you get the same, if not identical data, at least the similar data in these two sites alone.
I will push you on this question because that was a part of it. Do you have any, or maybe there is nothing, it's in control of the people in Denmark, but is there any, is there any date that you would say that I would have expected the first patient to have gotten to have the first patient coming into the study and fulfilling the first round?
No, there is no data for that. As I said, we are waiting and working on that and to get the first patients in. So it will be the data will come first. Will be the data from the controls.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah.
Yes, I think I've done my due diligence as an interviewer asking twice.
No, but I mean, it's fair enough, but, for me, it's always, I have to refer to what, again, other people tell me, and they tell me what the third person has told them. So if I ask, how is it going there, then the people in the site in Denmark then in turn can only refer to, okay, this and this person will come in on that and that date. I will let you know if they agree to be part of the study or not. So that makes, it's a little bit, you have a couple of steps in between there, since the study is not done here in our lab in Sweden, and I'm not an EG guy or an MD that can run this.
I get it. Shall we go for the fourth question? It's vem äger datan, studieresultat och immateriella rättigheter som genereras inom ramen för TOTEM-studien?
They are negotiated between the CNRS and
do you want to translate the question firstly?
Sorry. So the question was who owns the immaterial data that might come out of the study in the form of IP and so on. And this is something that we have a contract with CSRN, and this data will be negotiated and divided between both of us. But regarding that, I don't really mind too much, because from an IP point of view, we are really quite good enough with the patents that we have, the patents applications that we have ongoing. The last one was for medical use, and of course the data that we generate there, I might be able to use it as part to support our claims. So it is not, if you go thinking about licensing, partnering, and people that are interested in GT002, the key question is always who owns the composition of matter patent for GT002, and that's always been Gabather.
What would the clinic or the people from TOTEMs then, what would they own after this study? Or what? Do you get my question?
Yeah, they would own, I don't know, if they want to use a certain form of therapy, certain form of treatment for that. But, that is very much constructed since, yeah, exactly. So you would
they would do
say,
something else than GT002. Based on these findings here, we can then use this other thing.
For example, that you need to modulate the GABA A receptor in that way in order to induce this and this kind of effect. But that's a little bit, this kind of IP generated, they are notoriously difficult to defend and to start in the first place. So, I mean, bottom line is always nobody can do anything with GT002. We got the patent on that. Nobody can really synthesize GT002 because we had a new synthesis way on that. And in particular, nobody can formulate this drug in any way to be used in a clinic, because that we got the patent also. So it doesn't worry me so much. But of course, there is an academic group. These guys will want to publish their data. It will be out there. And then anybody else that looks at this stuff and says, okay, this kind of EEG modulation could be interesting for our drugs too, or whatever, that they can do. But that's sort of, that's one of these nice things that are sort of really not my problem, or at least not my word.
Okay. You could say this, they would own the data. Would there be any problems with giving the data again to Myndig, for example? Or is there any thoughts of involving them again?
No, because all the EEG analysis is also done by them. So this is independent of Myndig,
Okay. So, it would have been nice to meet Myndig again with their good insights. But
yeah, but I'm in touch with Minik anyway, and we got other ideas and projects together with them. So they were definitely back in the picture. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll have that in a future episode.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Okay. Next question then. Finns det avtal med forskargruppen eller andra samarbetspartner som påverkar framtida kommersiella rättigheter, royalty-strukturer eller intäktsfördelning via en eventuell licensiering eller försäljning av GT002?
No, there is no such agreement. So the question is there's any agreement that affect the commercialization of GT002 or licensing deals in future? And no, there's not. The patent side, Gabather side.
Cool, that was the shortest answer.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that CSNIN is an academic group. Their main interest is in publishing the data and getting the clinical trial done. They are not into commercialization of the drug.
Yeah. Okay. Sixth and last question from this person. Hur ser bolagets plan ut om resultatet från TOTEM-studien blir positiva men inte tillräckligt tydliga för att möjliggöra nästa utvecklingssteg eller ett partneravtal?
If they are, well, then they will get funding for either an extended study, either with the TOTEMs group or with
the question,
with some other
firstly.
women. Oh, sorry.
I know this is the first time we do this, Robin.
Yeah, I know. It's sort of I take it for given.
How does the company's plans look like if the results from the TOTEM study is positive but not as positive or clear as possible for the next development steps or partner deals? Would that be a good translation?
Absolutely. That's perfect, Markus. If the company's plan, if the results from the TOTEM study are not sufficient to generate, then of course the plan will be to get funding for either an extended study or a study in together with somebody from the very beginning on. Again, what I said at the very to answer the very first question, it's the same thing. The idea is to get then somebody interested said, okay, this data looks good enough for us, for example, to look to start our own clinical trial with the price of first use or something like that. So that would be the plan regarding GT002. If the data is interesting but not good enough for commercial. So question there is good enough, and good enough is it's a decision that Gabather doesn't really make. It's a potential partner that will evaluate and says this is interesting or good enough for us to take it on board or not,
It would be then to seek more funding for continuation then, I guess. Yes.
Exactly. I already discussed that with CSR because they had the same thing, What do we do if the data is really good, Would you like to do another trial with you guys, with us, and so on? And I said, yeah, of course, let's just get there in the first place, let's cross that bridge and then we can see how we move on. But they are definitively, of course, if they generate interesting results for themselves, then we see. But it doesn't bind Gabather to that side or to that study. Somebody else wants to continue. Again, the whole. Remember that the whole basis is always it's a GT002 that is in the center, and what the data that you generate from there is just opens the door to what you can do, but what you can do with GT002, So
yeah. My regular question: the company has gone into this focus of business development activities. Has there been any activities lately that you'd like to share?
Yeah, there have been. I've had a couple of interviews with people that are interested in funding in Gabather. None of them, any conclusions. Some of them are with confidentiality. So many of them regarding partnering is, of course, waiting for the clinical trial. But since we published that the clinical trial has actually started, of course, the interest is much more. But everybody has the same question as you, Markus, which is when is the first patient and when can we see that? So that's where we're standing. But we're working on it together with.
But that would be for more like. Would that be like from commercial licensing partner? Or would that be more towards like academic partnering that you would find, funds for looking into like similarly like now another phase 2B, but in another direction?
Yeah, well. That
can be
both. I'm not really. I don't have any principle that. But for example, it could be that Innovation Fund Denmark. They have part of the first step. If they have good results in the first part of the trial, might well be that they said, okay, this looks interesting enough for us to expand funding another group in Denmark or the same group. That is totally flexible. I think it's very much dependent on how good or bad the results really look like.
But would it be in the same track as schizophrenia, or are you thinking now I'm really pushing you?
If it would be with not necessarily. If it would, if it would be with CSNR, it would be schizophrenia because that's what they work on.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm working. We're working and getting a consortium together to look at modulation of sleep, for example. These are completely different partners, completely different environment, and that's what I want to talk about in the next GIST 13. So as soon I got that consortium together and the plan and the outline, then I think it will be time for the next GIST. So I don't know if I can reach it before the holiday epidemic breaks out or after the holiday.
We'll see.
But definitively it will be worth explain what our plans are there. And there's again the same thing, funding of the trial. Would it be a commercial partner potentially? Could be, or an academic partner potentially. But the key thing there for me is to get a good team together, and I think I'm very, very close to have a really, really, really good, that the scientific and medical team is okay for the study that we want to do. And then look, okay, how do we fund this? Which is actually a little bit, if you look at small biotech companies, there's many times, okay, what can we do, with the money that we have? And now I'm putting it a little bit on its head. Know what I'm doing now, because Totems is running a little bit on autopilot. So what I'm doing now is saying, okay, this is actually what I want to do. This is the kind of people and group I want to do it with, and then I want to get the funding for that. So it's a little bit not upside down, but I'm starting at the other end, so to speak.
Yeah. Feels like a wrap for today's session. I think I don't have any more questions. We had a bit of a gap, but I think we didn't really have anything to communicate. And I know both of us we've been quite busy lately. So, but I would really thank the people that asked the questions, because I posted that please come with some questions, and I got a great list. So please continue. If you form your questions well, we'll bring them up in the episodes, and we'll see you in the next episode, right?
Absolutely, Markus. First of all, I thank you for doing this GIST video interviews anyway, and also, of course, all the people that show interest through the questions. It's just that I'm not always able to give the answer that I often feel people would like to hear, but I try to keep it as much on track as I can. And if I really have something, super relevant, impacting the company as a whole, then I would publish it immediately in a press release to everybody. But the process not so that that is like a like a production of, I don't know, an item that I can say that day we produce this and we'll do this. You can see how Totems, how long this all the challenges and delays we had to go around and problems that we had to solve. So it's sometimes difficult to say, okay, on that and that date, we will have the first patient in. On that and that date, we'll have 10 controls ready and done and so on. It's
of course,
unfortunately fluid. And that's why the GIST, Markus, sometimes if there's nothing really new, to keep the people updated, there is nothing really.
Maybe we don't have the biggest audience yet, but I know that the people who are listening, they are looking forward for the episode. So thanks for the warming words that you're looking forward to the next episode.
I do, and also, I don't know how big. I really have no idea how big the audience is, Markus. But I can tell you that the email feedback and even on SMS and so on after the GIST is always very, very positive, and people do appreciate it. And with a caveat that I don't always have sensational news or news in exactly the timelines that people expect. People are generally interested, I think, in Gabather, and I think the audience that you, Markus, have been able to gather, or we have done it together in these interviews. I think many of them are people that are generally interested in sort of joining Gabather on this development. They are not so much, with a checklist, but they're more like, okay, let's see how it goes, but from a like positive, keeping their fingers crossed and wishing you well, rather than being, trying to check where things are going wrong. So I think these GISTs are great, and I mean, if we done 12, the next one will be 13. That's Pretty good, I think.
Let's hope
very good.
It will be a good episode next one and not unlucky episode
No,
next time. We'll wait and see. Okay.
No,
okay.
Definitely. Okay.
Thanks for today, Robin. See you in the next one.
Thank you, Markus. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.